Hi, my name is Jolene Underwood. I lead a fantastic community of Christian communicators called Rise Up Writers. Today's video is kind of both encouraging and equipping, and it has to do with the things that we can say no to so that we can say yes to writing. Many of us as writers, we have a lot of goals that we want to accomplish. We know that we want to get writing done, but different things stop us. And today we're going to talk about some practical things that we can make some changes in that might help us move forward in saying yes to more writing and yes to accomplishing the things that God has stirred in our hearts. First of all, one of the things that we can say no to is the urgent. Say no to the urgent when possible. If you look back and consider some of the activity that you've had over the last week or maybe the last month, ask yourself how many times did you think you were going to start working on one project or get something done, yet something else took away your attention. That was something that was urgent that interrupted the important thing that you wanted to do. When you take a look at some of those urgent items, there's a couple of reasons that they might be there. So they might be something that you have to say no to altogether, but honestly, when we're considering what to say no to in the urgent items, we're also evaluating those urgent things and recognizing whether or not they need to be taken into account when we're considering what our important objectives are. For example, let's say you want to get an hour of writing done every single day and it's not getting done because something always comes up. Well, look at what's coming up. Is it notifications on your phone? Is it a household task that keeps coming up? Is it the kids that need an errand somewhere or a friend that called? When you take a look at what some of those urgent items are, there may be some of those that you can say no to by designating that time, turning off all notifications, not answering your phone, saying no to somebody's request, scheduling it for later. That would be saying no to those urgent items. But as you evaluate it, you might also find that some of the things that are coming up as urgent are actually the important things. And so maybe there's somewhere else in your schedule that things need to be rearranged so that you can value your writing time and set it aside. So the second thing that we're going to say no to is no to responding right now. Sometimes it may be responding altogether. And hear me out on this. I am a high responder. I feel like when somebody sends me an email or a text or a question of any kind, the phone rings, I need to respond right away. It actually is very challenging for me to say, I don't have to respond right now because I am in the middle of this. If I looked at that same time frame and instead of writing, I was in a professional meeting, I was in an interview for a job, I was taking a young child to the restroom or on a date with my spouse, would I say no to responding in that moment? I hope so. I hope I would, because I want to be present in those moments. We have to choose to be present in the writing moments as well and value that time again. And so saying no to responding to all the text messages, all the emails, all the notifications, perhaps maybe until a specific time of day that you set aside. I notice some people on Facebook, they only get on in the morning for a little while. They do all their responses one time a day or in the evening or something like that. I'm not that disciplined. That is an area that I need to work on for sure. But even for me, taking a small step to look back and say, okay, I don't need to respond to emails at every minute of every day. I can learn to set that aside to different portions, maybe 2 or 3 times in a day. I don't need to respond to all the Facebook notifications. I can choose some time and then practice the discipline of working on that specific time rather than responding all the time. Every time you respond, every time you switch tasks, it uses up a lot of brain energy and it makes it harder to get back into the flow of the work that you want to do. And in order to maximize our time and become more efficient and productive, it's really important to tune out the things that are going to distract us during that time frame. So again, this is an area that I am totally working on, but I think if we can keep it simple and say, no, I don't have to respond right now. If that's an area that's of issue for you as well. And some things just don't need a response. Or if you get, here's another thing too, if you get emails from readers, for example, or you get requests for something, the same kind of request, you can set yourself a template of a response and copy and paste that so that you don't have to think up a new response every time. Number 3, say no to projects that are out of season. Okay, so I have a lot of irons in the fire. Everybody that's close to me knows that. And choosing what is in this season, whether this season is a month or 3 months or half a year, this season, choosing what are those top priorities for that season, then knowing that you're going to be choosing those 1, 2, 3 projects, whatever it is, then shelve the other ones until the right season, until later. So for example, if you have a goal of increasing your subscribers or completing your book or setting up something new, then decide, is that for this season, or do I need to set it aside for a later season because I'm already finishing up some other goals? And again, I'm speaking to the choir here because that is something that I'm hoping that I can really improve on in 2018. Too many things at the same time is not productive. And so I'm going to be looking at everything that's on my plate and saying, what is for this season? And can I deal with the anxiety that comes up inside of me from not doing some of the other things and shelve it for the right season? Another thing that can happen that's out of season sometimes is things that we've done for so long. They feel comfortable. They're what we've known to do. They may be a ministry that we've led. They may be a group that we've led. It may be a specific way of doing a newsletter or the blog post. And you're stepping into a new season. Is there something that you need to say no to today and close out? Grieve if you need to, because it is some kind of a loss every time you have a change, and say goodbye. Let that stay in the season that it was in. It doesn't need to, well, if you think of fruit in its season, right? And the manna, I mean, when they kept it and held on to it for too long, it became moldy. When fruit is held on to for too long, it becomes nasty and it deteriorates and it becomes smelly. Don't hold on to things in today's season that belong in yesterday's season. So ask God, what is in today's season and what do I need to shelve and hold on to for another season? Number 4, say no to side tasks that are distracting you. So for example, social media is definitely a side task and a distraction. But as I've been going through blogging, I felt the nudge of the Spirit a few different times to say, this is something you don't need to put your time into anymore. It is good for some people, but it is not for you in this season. So kind of building on that concept of the season again. So for example, for me, and I kind of tend to disobey this occasionally because I like one particular link up quite a bit, but I've really sensed the Spirit nudging me to say, do not link up on blog link ups. And I think blog link ups are great. They have a great purpose. People get connected and they start building community. But for me, for the things that God was asking me to do, I felt like that was something that he was saying, don't do that at all. It takes time for me to look at other people's blogs and comment. It takes time for me to do the link up, and I'm getting, maybe 20, 30 minutes have gone by that I could have been using towards something else. And so I see the wisdom in that, and I have disobeyed that a few times. And every time I do, I feel that nudge in the Spirit that says, no, that's a side task, a distraction. So I don't know that side task is necessarily the best word for it, but think of things that you don't think are very, like when you think of the things that you want to do that are very important, that are goals that you want to set, that you highly value, are the things that you actually are doing. And if you look back at the things that you actually did yesterday or the week before or in the last month, you can kind of evaluate what those things were. Are there anything, I should say this differently, is there anything in those tasks that was actually a distraction from you getting the work that you did, that you wanted to get done? So like I said, for the link ups, or maybe it was, it could even be in blog groups sometimes, having way many blog groups, Facebook groups that might be about blogging or writing or whatever it is that's your focus. Pare it down and choose what is the most valuable to you and don't let them all be a distraction. So those extra noises are going to keep you from using what's inside of you and hearing God speak. That's another area that I'm choosing to, I've been fine-tuning in the last month or two. I've actually left several different groups because I thought I might get information from them, but I really didn't need that particular group. I have a few that get plenty of information, and any more is really overstimulating my brain anyhow. So just learn what to say no to, whether it's link ups. Some people do a lot of the book launches and book reviews, which is fantastic. And if I launch a book, I hope that lots of people are on my launch team. But sometimes we can join a launch team or a review program because we want the book, and because we want to be part of something, and because it seems really cool and we should be part of that. But the reality is that we don't have the time. We're not showing our commitment. We're not getting the reviews done that we're asked of. I know in a lot of groups, the Amazon reviews, I guess Goodreads as well, they're a big deal to the authors. And so in addition to social media sharing or maybe a blog post write-up or something, those reviews are hugely important. And a lot of people that sign up for book launches aren't doing the reviews. So book launches are amazing. I fully support them. I'm stepping back from most all unless God really specifically says, actually, no, for me, I'm stepping back from probably launch teams in general. However, if I have some friends that have specific books out, or there is a book that I really want to promote, I'm going to promote it anyway. I'm going to put it on my own schedule to do a review when I can, because it means something to me and I think it's going to be valuable to my community. So I might even do a whole video on it. If it's something that means that much, I'm going to go out of my way to do it. But if I keep, in the past, signing up for different book launch teams, then I'm spending all this time reading somebody's book on the time schedule that they need, because it is really important, but I was setting aside the things that God was asking me to do. So when that's taking place of the work that I needed to do, I had to step back and reevaluate, am I doing too many? Do I need to do any of these? So please hear me. I fully support launch teams and book review opportunities, and people that do them diligently amaze me. Some of my friends read a lot faster and more books than I do, but be honest as you're evaluating the tasks that you're actually getting done, and then evaluating the tasks that you want to do. Is that something you want to do going forward? Or maybe even say, for the next 3 months, I'm taking these side tasks off my plate so that I can focus on this particular important project that I want to get done. If in those 3 months, and you keep trying to work on the project, if you're still not working on the project, there may be something else that's tripping you up, and maybe it's not as important as you thought. Maybe these other tasks are really important to you, and then you go back to it. Just some things to consider. Okay, the final no is saying no to extra decisions. Any more decisions that are necessary. And here's what I mean. I deal with a lot of analysis paralysis, fatigue of the brain from thinking so much and having decisions. And so years ago, I spent time in different areas of the house, but I'm going to give you an example specifically with my bathroom closet. In our bathroom closet, we would have these bins that had all of the medications and ointments and sun tanning stuff and bug spray, whatever, all over the place in these different bins. Well, what would happen is people would just kind of throw them into different ones. I would kind of think, well, this is organized by all these types of products in this bin and organized here, but they weren't staying organized. So what I did is I would go into the closet and I would want to get, let's say, ibuprofen or something, and I'd pick up an old bottle of medicine. I'm like, oh, do I really need this? What was this for? And I'm starting to think, what decision do I need to make about this product? Do I need to toss it? Do I need to keep it? Does it go somewhere else? And then I'd pick up something else because it was in the way. I still wasn't finding what I needed. And there I am trying to make a decision again. So what I did is I took the time to take everything out of the closet, lay it all out, and then start making decisions by what is out of date and just needs to be thrown away. Get rid of all of it. Group things so that I could take a look at it. And then when I grouped things, I realized in some cases I had multiples of some product. Some were old and breaking apart. Those could be tossed. It made it easier to make those decisions. And then those decisions were made, and I'm not going to be picking up those products again. So the final step was to put it into drawers and to have them labeled. So now I have a drawer that says pain relief. And if it doesn't fit in that drawer, it doesn't go in there. I have too much of the product, then I give it to somebody else or get rid of it. I just don't need that much that's in there. Salves. And so I chose categories that would fit by these drawers. So anyway, all that to say that when it comes to blogging, there's writing in general. What we do during the day makes an impact in our ability to have the time to write. So if there are different things that you find yourself, this is kind of a question actually to ask as you're going through your day. Is this a decision that I have to keep remaking all the time? Is there a way that I can pre-plan and pre-decide so that I don't have to make this decision anymore? So for example, people who have to plan meals during the week, what are the staple meals that I can make? What ingredients do you need to have on hand? And I can make them, a couple times a week or something. Or some people do meal planning better. I don't do that. But it could be a variety of different things. Just what is it that you kind of have to keep going through and deciding? And then specifically when it comes to different projects or writing. So for example, I started the new YouTube channel and I've been doing some interviews with people. Well, when I do the interview, I have to have the graphic and then trying to find out the right graphic size and the font colors okay, now I need to put this in here and this piece here. And then, if I export it straight to YouTube, it doesn't work. I need to go to my computer. Then I need to convert this. There's all these little steps. For me, that's not all automated in my mind yet. They're all little decisions that I need to make along the way. So what I can do though, is I can set a process in place, a work process, and I might use the tool, online tool called Workflowy, or I might just print it and put it on my wall in front of my computer screen that tells me what to check off. Some people do this for blog posts. I was talking with another writer and coach this morning in our Rise Up Writers group, and for her and for me, doing a blog post, I don't need that process list because I'm not actually making decisions. I'm actually just looking top down and checking each one, like, is it done? Is it done? Is it done? I know what to do and I can do it really fast. So I don't need to spend the time coming up with a list. But for new projects where I can't remember, oh yeah, if I start here, then I have to go here. And then, oh yeah, what was that piece? Right, taking the time to lay it all out and write it down gives me an opportunity to make less decisions later. So we talked about editorial calendars in the Rise Up Writers group on a Zoom call, and Ann Croker was talking about reverse engineering your editorial calendar. And one of the conversations we had was about all these to-do lists. And so like the bathroom closet, you can take your to-do list items and I know it might seem really intimidating, but it's that brain dumping process, getting it out of your head, getting it onto paper, and then group it and say, oh, all these tasks belong to this kind of grouping, whether it's getting a blog post created, a social media thing, and then choose what grouping am I going to focus on. But when you have some of those things listed out, it gets it out of the brain and it gives you some free space in order to do the work that you want to do. So I hope that's been helpful for you, some things that you can say no to and things that I am specifically working on saying no to so that we can say yes to more writing and more content as God leads in the next year. Thank you.